Hello, class. My name is Juliana Figueroa, and this is my presentation on Athens, ancient Greece. The first question I'd like to start off with is what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the name Athens or ancient Greece? You may think of Greek gods and goddesses, as well as legends and colosseums, and this is all correct. Just within this project, we will go in depth on how those ideas came to be. Naming Athens. The name of Athens itself has a legend and story. During the first time, the king named the land after himself, but the gods believed the land deserved a higher name and instead proposed a contest between the gods with its followers watching. Poseidon struck a rock with his trident, creating water to end the suffrage and drought. Athena created the olive tree from a single seed. The citizens chose Athena the winner, seeing as her gift was seen as more valuable, and the city was named after her, Athena, Athens. Next, the government and laws. As Athens first created its system of government and laws, there were problems and issues that arise. The first main problem was debt. Many of its citizens were in debt to those in higher ranking society. As a result, those who could not pay off their debt became slaves or were punishable by law. As a solution to this problem, Athens called upon Solon to help balance the debt one owes. This next problem that arose was punishment by law. The first series of written laws were seen as severe and unjust because any infraction was punishable by law. This included any minor infraction or large infraction would result and be seen under the law as equal and result in punishable by death. As a solution, Athens once again called upon Solon to help create equalized political power and laws for society. Who is Solon? Solon was an essential asset in creating the system of government both used in Athens and our Western society today. He was a lawmaker and poet, and an example of his work is seen as he created the first social rank in, in society in Athens. At the top were those who were wealthy and produced at least 500 bushels of corn or a good that could be traded off or exploited or yeah. And then next were the knights who produced 300 to 500 bushels, and below them were craftsmen or the lower class that created 300, 200, or even less bushels of goods. The men of Athens. All male citizens had equalized political rights and freedom of speech, as well as participating in political affairs. There was still a system of government and councils to be established for the city to work. With Athens being built, its political system drew in travelers to come and settle in. With the creation of the Athenian government, it was an attraction for people to come in and settle with their families in order for them to take part in such a high and powerful position in society. The first council that was created was the assembly. The assembly was a council that met twice a month at the top of the city's hills, where its citizens could voice their opinion. Any male citizen could speak to the assembly and vote on political decisions. The assembly solved problems such as military and financials, as well as organizing and maintaining the food supply for the city. Within the assembly was a smaller circle that consisted of about 500 male citizens who could rule decisions without the need of the assembly in urgent times such as war. During this time, there was a huge division between the position of a woman and the position of a male. So we just spoke about the one of the examples of how great of a position males had during this time, but now we will talk about the position women had of Athens. So first, young girls were or young female babies were at a higher risk of being abandoned compared to males because males were seen as the wanted or males were seen as the gift compared to female babies because they could hold higher positions in society. And if a young girl was to be educated, her whole education was surrounded on preparing her for creating a family. This is where the stereotype women belong in the kitchen first generated and first started creating itself in society. Next, married women had no say in political affairs, and married women were to be seen as faithful to their husbands. This standard was not held for men. They could engage in affairs freely, but if the wife was caught, the husband could kill the lover and not face government or laws or persecution in general. During this time came about the Golden Age. During this time, great poets, writers, artists, and thinkers were born, which we now study today. Much of our education is based on the first creations of music and art to history. And I listed the example of some of the major political historians that we study today. And at the bottom, we see Socrates, the father of philosophy. Why was Athens important? Athens was important because it created a lot of our everyday subjects we have today, as well as created a foundation for a system of government such as democracy, taxes, and schools. And how does this relate to the readings we're doing today? In the previous slide, we saw Socrates being born out of the Golden Age, and we know him as the father of philosophy. This relates to the readings we've done thus far in sessions 1 through 4, leading on to session 5, where we read the works of the Republican that tells us of Socrates, an Athenian, and the work he has done as a philosopher in pursuing and educating people on the topics he believes is right and just. And we see in the work of the Republican how he uses his knowledge as a tool of persuasion in order for others to agree with what he is saying, in order for him to, in a way, kind of create power and a position in society. And finally, the last slide is just my works cited, and this concludes my presentation.